Hi, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm the director for the Center for Self-Differentiation in Carmel, Indiana, on the north side of Indianapolis. And I work with clients in my office and online, and I also specialize in helping those who are adult children of alcoholics, or ACOAs or ACAs. And this video is entitled ACOAs Learning to Stay with Yourself. I have videos in which we stay in the past, those who are ACOAs, there are ACOAs who stay in the future, and it's very important that ACOAs learn to stay in the present and stay with themselves. And that's a very important skill to learn in recovery for ACOAs. And I wanted to talk about some of the things that I incorporate into ACOA recovery. I have many people who contact me and who have watched my video, my life isn't working, and learning about the traits of adult children of alcoholics, and are coming out of denial with regard to their family's alcoholic past or drug addicted past. And then they begin to realize that they are affected by those traits and affected by their family of origin life, and they're even affected on into their adulthood. And they notice their life isn't working as well, and so they begin to discover, well, maybe there's something else going on. For those who have just discovered that they're ACOAs, let me talk about how to stay with yourself. And these things would also apply to someone who's been in recovery for 15 years or someone who's just starting out in recovery. These are the kinds of things I focus on for ACOA recovery. These are not all the ways and all the information that I cover, but at least it gives you some general things to think about, so that as you begin your walk of recovery as an ACOA, you have somewhat of a roadmap. The first is, of course, the 12-step program. I really do strongly encourage ACOAs to get into an ACOA group. Get the red book, which is the main book for ACOAs. Get the yellow workbook. Again, those can be found online for the Adult Children of Alcoholic World Service Organization. And in the 12-step recovery, we begin to learn that we are powerless over our family of origin. We are powerless over others' addiction. We are powerless over our own addictions. And we learn to surrender. And we begin to recover from our own addictions and recover from the ways in which our family of origin has affected us. That's kind of the 12-step program. Then we also begin to learn and read about and study about ACAs or ACOAs. I use those interchangeably. To learn how we got here and what are the traits of ACOA, so that we can see the areas of growth and healing we need to do for ourselves. In fact, I want to read something to you from the ACOA workbook, which is entitled 12 Steps of Adult Children, the Steps Workbook, Adult Children of Alcoholics World Service Organization. And it looks like this. And I think it's a very good book for adult children of alcoholics. And in the beginning, we begin to learn about these affirmations. I am powerless over the effects of alcoholism and family dysfunction. 2, I am powerless over the laundry list of traits. In other words, those 14 traits of adult children of alcoholics. Thirdly, my life is unmanageable when I focus on others rather than myself. 4, I did not cause my parents' addiction or dysfunction. 5, my feelings and thoughts are separate from the thoughts of my parents and my family. 6, I can stop trying to heal or to change my family through my current relationships. I can stop trying to change others. 7, I can stop condemning myself without mercy. And 8, I am a valuable person. Those are very powerful affirmations that not only adult children of alcoholics need, but all of us need. Those are good affirmations for all of us, but particularly important for adult children of alcoholics. I think there's also a lot in there about busting shame and those kinds of things for adult children, which is very important. I also believe that learning about self-differentiation is a very important part of recovery. And that's the part that talks about my feelings and my thoughts are separate from my family and separate from others. Others have their feelings, their thoughts, their beliefs, their emotions. I have mine. And those are separate. And that's the work of self-differentiation. Andrea Schara, S-C-H-A-R-A, has a great book called Mindful Compass, which is a great book about self-differentiation. And I do specialize in self-differentiation and helping adult children of alcoholics to achieve self-differentiation. I believe it's one of the most powerful ways to overcome the adult children of alcoholic effects. I encourage those who are adult children of alcoholics to go slow. In other words, to slow down their relationship process, to slow down the process with themselves, and to slow down the process with others. Often we get ahead of ourselves, often we are reactive, and we do not slow it down far enough for us to be able to process and to work through feelings and thoughts in relationships. Because when we grew up, things move too quickly and change too quickly. Reality changed too quickly. And so that slowing down process is very important. I also train and teach people to begin to choose inaction or other action versus reaction. Because often we are stuck in that we keep reacting and being reactive, which only keeps and maintains the status quo. And it doesn't really provide change for me or change in the relationship. I strongly encourage ACOAs to practice observing and moving into more of an observer-researcher mode versus an absorber mode. And absorbing everything that's around us or enmeshing with everything that's around us, that we maintain an objectivity in an observer state, which helps us to process what's going on in the world more. So a normal person, whoever that is, but a normal person practices observation versus absorbing. But we who have grown up in dysfunctional families practice absorbing versus observing. It's very important that we learn to practice thinking before acting. We need to engage our mind and not just do emotional think or feeling think, that we actually separate our thoughts from our feelings, and that the feelings do not just propel us in our lives, but we begin to use our cognitive process. I think another thing that I've worked at is helping folks with their amygdala in their brain, which hijacks your brain when you get reactive, and to help them to rebuild pathways and cognitive patterns so that they begin to reduce their reactivity and be able to separate feelings from thoughts and actually be able to be more in control of themselves. They feel safer, they feel better, they're able to be a little more vulnerable because they don't feel so vulnerable to themselves and to their own reactivity. I think reality checking with others is very important, whether with a coach, a therapist, a support group, ACOA sponsor. And I also believe PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, type of traits that we've had from the trauma of growing up in an alcoholic or addicted home or a severely dysfunctional home. We may need to do trauma work, body work, meditation, self-soothing training, talking with a coach or therapist, reducing your focus on emotional pain, because we want to reduce our focus on emotional pain. Our minds store memories from long ago, and our bodies store those memories as well. I think it's also important that we do grief work. Grief work is grieving over and letting go of the losses that we had growing up in an alcoholic home, and going through the stages of grief. I think also forgiveness and self-forgiveness work is another important component of ACOA recovery. Forgiving others and forgiving yourself. We often get caught in unforgiveness, in which we cannot let go of our family of origin, or we want to change them, or we want to have the parents we never had, or get the acceptance and love we never got, and we don't forgive them and get angry and resentful and bitter. And then also, we've done things in our own lives that have not made us happy and have been painful for us, and we then have a hard time forgiving ourselves because we have a hard time forgiving others, and we're very highly critical of others and ourselves. If there's one thing I can tell if someone's in a true recovery process, whether from alcoholism, drug addiction, any process addiction, gambling, or ACOA recovery, if there's one thing that can tell me where they are in their recovery, is how well they can accept and forgive others, and how well they can accept and forgive themselves. That's a key thermometer that I use to find out where somebody is in their recovery. Because I know a lot of people who are in recovery and go to meetings and things like that are still very judgmental and critical of others and critical of themselves. And I think, I'm not sure you've gotten to full recovery yet, because that's very important. Doing de-enmeshment work is critical, and I talked about having the separateness between others and myself, and self-differentiation is that process of learning to de-enmesh with others, being able to identify enmeshment when it's happening, that I'm in it, and then doing the mental and emotional de-enmeshment, and doing behavioral de-enmeshment. What are things I can do to de-enmesh? Whether it can be behaviorally, okay, I'm not going to talk to my mom about my brother or my sister. That's a behavioral change, so I don't get in the enmeshment triangle of all three of us. And I say, hey, if my sister wants to tell me something or talk to me, she can give me a call. I don't need to hear it from a third party. That's behavioral de-enmeshment. And practicing that's very important, and learning to deal with the resistance from others, because others want you to stay in that enmeshment. And then I think using a coach or therapist is very critical for ACOA recovery and for staying with yourself and being with yourself. If you want more help with doing the work of ACOA recovery, or if you've just discovered there is such a thing as ACOA or ACOA syndrome, contact me for expert help in this field. Many ACAs are so eager to recover and find recovery so rewarding and beneficial. They work really hard because they see the real changes in their lives. They feel less reactive, more self-loving and accepting. They have greater peace. They're happier in their relationships. They're more in control of their lives. They sleep better. They even learn how to do conflict better in a way that does not frighten them or leave them feeling lonely and afraid. There are many rewards to ACOA recovery. I hope you'll contact me for an appointment. My contact information is on the screen. You can email me for resources if you'd like to get some free resources, or a listing of all of my over 100 YouTube videos on YouTube. I don't have 100 YouTubes. I have 100 videos or more on the YouTube channel. I want to tell you very much I appreciate you watching today, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.